Hey, what's up? It's Phoenix. I'm hopeful because I recently published my book, Delirium, which I'm very excited about and which I'm very proud of. Delirium is a book that I wrote to try to understand my sexuality and the feelings and desires that I had in a culture that is very rigid, very controlling, very dogmatic and authoritarian. And I know that this book and my own choices are divisive to some people, not to everybody, but some people it is. And I recognize it in two ways. On the one hand, this book represents a lot of my raw, intense emotions and anger and rage at the world, but also the self-rage. But that means that I use words that are very rough and raw and ragged and rigid. But then there's the other side of it where I just want to connect with people and I just want to accept myself. And so I'm trying to understand myself. I'm trying to understand my own homophobia and my own feelings of anger towards myself for being a certain way, for being gay. And Delirium hits at the heart of it for me because the book is very unpleasant. You have this character who starts off simply enough. He's just trying to accept himself and he's just dating a little bit and trying to get out there. But then he reaches a point to where his life completely changes. And I don't want to spoil it for you. I hope that you'll check the book out. But he starts to devolve into a delirium, you could say, where his mind is tormenting him, where love is destroying him. And I feel like that captures a lot of the pain I felt during my coming out process, where I don't accept myself, where I don't allow myself to be who I am, where I deny myself and feel like I have to do all of these things just to conform. And they're very painful emotions because I feel like I just can't be myself, that who I am is not good enough, that who I am, that my best self is not good enough. And that's what makes me really sad about it, because I don't understand why that would be the way that the world operates and why that's the way that things are. And so I recognize that I'm doing my best anyway to try to understand myself. And Delirium is in that vein of thought, of trying to process difficult and painful emotions. The character's name is Matthias, and he's an interesting character because you could argue that he's a projection or extension of myself, but you could also argue that he's a very fully realized character. The book's in first person and he expresses his experiences with his sexuality. But the thing that I want to highlight about this book is that it's cathartic. It helps me to process things that I don't understand. It helps me to process the rejection and the pain and the anguish and the strife and the angst that I have felt for so long with feeling, like I said, like I'm not good enough. And this character is doing his best to be good enough for himself and to be his best self. And I think that's important because he is a good person. It might be that religion and churches and religious people reject him. It might be that they don't care about his perspective. It might be that they think that he's the most awful person in the world. And definitely the book is the internalized homophobia of me as an author, I admit, but also of the character and the world around him. And he just wants to be loved. He wants to be loved and find love. And it's just so interesting because when you think about how love operates, you would hope that love would be the highest virtue that anyone could ever aspire to. But people who are gay have often been persecuted and they have struggled to identify and to be true to their identity. And this makes it to where they reject themselves because they feel like there's no point in existing. They feel like they're not good enough as they are. And so it definitely is difficult to process. I admit that I was very vulnerable with this book. But this is what this book is about. And it's not for everybody, and that's completely okay. This book is not going to resonate probably with most people. Most people will either find the language to be too strong and derogatory and divisive, or they might find it to be just not what they like, and they don't like the characters, and maybe they don't even like the author. But I hope that there is a sense of beauty that comes with this book with people who it does resonate with, and people who can relate to feeling alienated, isolated, and dislocated. And I hope that it's a story that people can relate to in terms of feeling these emotions of this kind of refugee status, of trying to live in the world, but having no place to be, of trying to accept yourself and to love yourself, but struggling to do so. And I hope that you'll check it out. So yeah, I'm Phoenix. I'm super excited about the books I've been publishing. I hope that you'll check this book out and my other books. And yes, I'm Phoenix. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.